saying woke one was crazy.
Woke one was crazy. Okay, that's
and,
So you're probably familiar with AOC's recent rebranding PR attempt to position herself for the 2028 presidential election, where she's suddenly trying to not sound like a radical anymore, right? Claiming, oh, that was just woke one. Woke one was so crazy, haha. That's totally not me now. And interestingly, she has a lot of useful idiots even within the main line of the Democrat Party who are trying to run along with that little op. But I kid you not, in a pretty hilarious development today, AOC is now being disowned by the DSA. She's being disowned by the Democratic Socialists of America, at least the Liberation Caucus of that organization, for now claiming she is no longer adequately far left or pro-Palestine enough, which really does tell you a lot about the direction of this political alliance. Although, I have to say at the same time, while we could sit there and say, haha, they're eating their own, oh my gosh, can you believe it? Maybe this is still all part of the kayfabe. I mean, we have to consider that possibility, right? Because if anything, maybe we're still being worked. Because this actually helps vindicate AOC's argument that I've pivoted, I'm no longer with these people, I'm now a moderate. See, look, the DSA is disavowing me, and deep down, none of it is actually real. Despite all the claims that AOC has changed her positions, even in her own words, no, she hasn't. She's changed her rhetoric. The DSA and the leftists have basically figured out that maybe being explicitly communist and insane is not a great way to win elections, so let's figure out new ways to repackage the exact same ideas. This is what these people have said out loud. Even establishment Democrats have admitted that they're basically doing the same exact thing. So I'm not sure how to interpret this, but I will bring you that news today of how basically by doing a couple of events alongside pro-Israel Jewish Democrat organizations, just because she appeared there, that's not pro-Palestine enough. They probably were not all that happy that she suggested that, woke one was a different thing, because deep down, all these leftists understand they haven't changed anything at all. But let's talk about it, guys. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. That is the best way to support our work, and it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. And with that said, I actually want to start you off in this video by kind of showing you the rebranding attempt currently taking place. Everyone saw that woke one was crazy type of clip. But take a look at this now, where we even have sort of what at least people claim to be the liberal Democrats, right? Not the socialist or communist ones, but the more establishment normie Democrats who allegedly, if we are to believe the kayfabe, are against AOC. They're against the rise of the communists. We're the moderate figures. This is what the Democrat Party really stands for. We're not all like these people. Now actively running cover for the AOC rebrand, right? So when we often say, look, between the Democrat establishment and the crazy communists, is anything really all that different? Well, take a listen, for example, to Jessica Tarlov, who I'm sure people know, but, espouses herself to be one of the normal, quote-unquote, Democrats, saying, and I quote, "I've done a 180 on AOC in reference to believing the AOC rebrand." So take a listen here.
100%. I have done basically a 180 on AOC from how I felt about her in 2018. And I think her turn at the DNC, it will be an incredible case study. That speech that she gave, that was just an economic populist speech from a working class woman that wants Democrats to win so that people have a better quality of life. I mean, she left woke one a long time ago. I mean, she is now compared to the real core DSA wing, like the far left stuff, like the Daria Lisa. AOC is like a moderate Dem on a comparative basis.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
She's very good, and Republicans, I'm not saying voters, but her relationships with Republicans on the Hill, I think, is one of her most under-discussed and most important qualities. People genuinely like her.
Okay, do you see what's going on here? Supposedly, there's this big divide between the DSA far left socialist progressive caucus in the Democrat establishment. Supposedly, the Democrat establishment wants to stop AOC in 2028, and yet when you listen to them actually speak, they are just blatantly shilling. They're sweeping it up for AOC, actually. I've done a 180. She's changed. Where has she changed, by the way? What idea has she come out and explicitly said, I was wrong about this, I've changed my mind, and here's why? Not a single one you could point to. But allegedly, she's no longer a part of woke one, whatever that's supposed to mean, to which I have brought up the point before. The very existence of defining something as woke one implies that there's also a woke two. Even in AOC's own explanation of it, it's basically saying we believe the same stuff, but we understand that our rhetoric might be a little bit divisive, so we're going to change the way we present the same exact ideas. So, that is actually, as we brought up, a admission of the Democrat establishment that they don't even actually disagree with the ideas of the DSA or these people. Maybe they just believe that, oh, it's a little bit on the nose, it's a little bit tougher to win elections when you blatantly say to abolish the police and cancel Thanksgiving and all those things. But don't worry, once we get into office, we'll govern in that exact fashion and push toward those end goals. It's just that maybe we should take it a little bit slower, right? And basically, it's a competition of how much can we gaslight the American people. And that's what these people have blatantly come out and said, right? It's not that our ideas are different. Don't worry, crazy far leftists. We still believe in the same things. We just think we have to be more effective at lying to the American people about it. Translation. That's exactly everything that went down here, right? And again, very interesting. All of a sudden, AOC's doing this rebrand. I understand why she's doing it. That's not much of a mystery. Why is the Democrat establishment, who's supposedly against her, they're supposedly against the rise of the far left, sweeping it up and promoting this rebrand? Oh, it's almost as if whatever personal power politics are going on in between these people, at the end of the day, they're all the same. At the end of the day, they're pushing down the same exact field. They're going for the same end goal, okay? Like they're all communists in some way or fashion at the end of the day. Sure, maybe one of them wants to push there a little bit slower, and here's how we eventually achieve that end goal. And maybe one person wants to do it immediately, the other wants to do it incrementally. It doesn't matter. It's all destructive and bad and terrible, okay? It all involves destroying America and pushing the country off a cliff. There is no tangible difference. And so, by the way, to sit there and believe that in any fashion at this point, okay, there's no room left for like the Bill Maher characters out there who think, oh, well, maybe the establishment Democrats will win. Okay, in order to win a supposed party civil war, you have to actually you have to actually want to win. You have to actually be fighting a civil war to begin with. In order to stand up, for example, to the communist takeover of your party, you have to actually, to be brave, to have those convictions, you have to have those convictions in the first place. Are these people really substantively opposed to that very takeover? Clearly not, because listen to how they speak. Listen to how they sweep it up for one another. Take a listen as well to another kind of progressive, far left-leaning character, one of sort of the woke one Bernie wave OGs of the party, this year being Congressman Ro Khanna, dodging the same question on woke one and whatever that's supposed to mean. And then we'll get to the story about the DSA, because when you really look at it, this kind of all ties together, does it not?
She said woke one was crazy, effectively suggesting some progressive views just went too far in the 2020s. Do you agree with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez that woke one was crazy?
Well, I don't know what these labels mean. I'll tell you what I've always stood for. I have never been for defunding police. Our district in Silicon Valley is one of the safest districts in the country. We've actually had more police in San Jose and Fremont. But I believe in police reform so people aren't racially profiled.
Yeah, so that is his excuse. He doesn't know what those labels mean. He doesn't know what woke one is referring to. Yes, he does. He's playing stupid. But secondly, even in that answer itself, I would point out, Ro Khanna is proving our exact point about, I don't know, the difference between woke one and woke two, or the supposed difference between the sensible Democrats and the far left DSA, quote unquote sensible, right? Because as we've pointed out before, defunding or abolish the police and or so-called police reform or criminal justice reform actually mean the same exact thing at the end of the day. They are ultimately the same policy. They might even on paper function as different policies slightly, but the end product, what it creates in terms of what does policing look like, actually are effectively the same, right? Because it's worth noting, and we said the same thing about Francesca Hong, right? We said, hey, sure, I doubt if she was governor, she would have the power or even try to abolish the police, literally. But the whole point is what? That slogan reflects how she feels about the issue of criminal justice, and that's what you should be terrified of. It's the same thing with defund the police, actually. Because it's worth noting, if you remember back to 2020, this same kind of thing went down, where a lot of the establishment Democrats did push back on defund the police. Remember that? They said, no, we don't want to defund the police, but we do want criminal justice reform. In the years following 2020, very few liberal cities actually defunded their police, if you remember, right? In some cases, they ended up doing it just simply because of budget cuts, but that wasn't actually a policy that really happened. But then you might be sitting there and asking, okay, but why was there that huge crime spike under Biden? How did we get these Irina Zarutskas and, these situations of 14, 20, 72-time repeat offenders that are being let out of jail? What's up with these woke DAs, this crazy approach to criminal justice that's resulting in Americans getting killed? Well, see, that's exactly why I say defund the police and police reform mean the exact same thing. Because sure, it's true. The supposed establishment Democrats did not cut funds for the police. In some cases, they raised funds for the police to say, look, we didn't defund the police. But what did they do? They installed a bunch of communist DAs. They implemented a bunch of criminal justice reform policies that just kept on freeing criminals who were obviously violent, obviously not reforming, obviously not going to change. And what ended up happening in many different cases, they went to commit more crimes. They continued to terrorize and kill Americans, and they made America's cities even less safe than they already were. That was the end outcome. And so you see exactly what I'm saying. Whether you're a progressive socialist who says defund the police, or you're a moderate Democrat who says police reform, what you did to the city was the same exact thing, right? It was the same. It's the same policy at the end of the day. The end outcome is let's neuter and remove the ability of police to really enforce the law and really stop crime and really stop criminals. And that's what happens, right? California, famously, they remove the penalties basically for shoplifting. So under $900, everyone keeps stealing, smash and grab. That becomes a big thing, right? Gavin Newsom can sit there and say, oh, but I increased funding for the police. That's the point. It's not just about how you're funding police. It's about your overall approach to police reform. That's why I say these socialist campaign platforms and the Democrat establishment campaign platforms, they sound different. But in the own admissions of these people publicly came out and said this, right? It's actually the same policy. It's actually the same thing. We're just more pragmatic about how we, present these ideas to the American people. That's what's really going on. So with all of that said and that understood, the kayfabe here, right? The work that is going on, you are being played. Here is the news story out of the DSA. Take a listen. So the Democratic Socialists of America, the DSA's Liberation Caucus, is now rejecting AOC as a potential candidate for Democrats in the 2028 election, arguing she is too far removed now from the socialist agenda. Again, interpret this as you will. Obviously, these people love to purity test. Obviously, the communist mob is maybe saying, hey, AOC, come back to us, push in our direction, right? They are sort of the crazy people in charge. But again, at the same time, if we're understanding this is all kind of a work, does this not also serve AOC's end goals, right? She wants to appear as a moderate. The big thing that's going to be used against her in 2028 would be, hey, you're associated with, obviously, the radicals, right? You are a DSA figure. Well, now she can say, no, I'm not. Look, the DSA just disavowed me, and it's all BS at the end of the day, right? But anyways, quote, Liberation condemns AOC's continued retreat from socialist politics, aka make myself sound a little bit more reasonable, and rejects any effort to present her as a future presidential standard bearer for the DSA or the broader socialist movement, the DSA Liberation Caucus wrote in the statement. DSA slammed AOC as a, quote, opportunist and condemned her vote to defend Israel's right to exist and not holding firm as an anti-Zionist. So she's now getting canceled by Palestine, allegedly. In short, it was determined that she had failed to meet conditions concerning Palestinian solidarity. Further, after withdrawing a conditional endorsement of the Squad Democrat in 2024, DSA's National Political Committee, so I believe this is larger than the Liberation Caucus, determined that AOC hosted a public panel with an alleged Zionist organization, the Jewish Council for Public Affairs. Apparently, it is now a crime on the Marxist left to, you know, appear with any symbols of something that they deem to be, you know, reactionary, right? This is counter-revolutionary. You see what's going on here. But she was also trashed for joining a group of House Democrats to co-sign a statement after voting against providing Israel with supplemental weapons funding and all this type of different stuff. But it's definitely no coincidence that the statement continued to attack her, pivoting to her recent remarks in an interview with ABC, where AOC walked back on her support for the movement to defund the police and the language used around policing in 2020, calling the quote woke era for progressives being woke one era for progressives being, you know, crazy, as they said. But the statement itself reads, quote, she has dismissed the mass radicalization around policing and abolition, aka abolishing the police, as part of the supposed excesses of Woke One, seeking to reduce the historic black-led uprising of 2020 to an embarrassing political phase. The statement reads, right? So that's basically the far left saying, how dare you betray us or call us crazy? We're not crazy. We're very sane. It continues, quote, ironically, her first electoral victory came in the heat of Woke One, where she trafficked in the language of abolition. Now she feels she no longer needs it. She condemns it. This is the action of an opportunist devoid of any principles whatsoever, not a socialist. So again, you know, there is probably some truth in that statement. I mean, obviously, you know, she is a figure that came from Woke One. The DSA does have a point, which is, you know, why is it suddenly now embarrassing when you guys say that, you know, BLM was the most important historic civil rights movement in the modern history of the country, and it was a net positive and all those things. But again, I still go back to this same exact conclusion. Sure, it can all seem like infighting, but obviously the DSA's politics are politically toxic. We know that to be true. They keep getting repudiated. They keep getting rejected. So at the end of the day, does it not actually kind of serve AOC to be like, look, I'm not associated with these people anymore, right? They're all kind of working together. I don't know. Maybe not explicitly. Maybe they don't know they're working together. But sometimes an op can be an op without even realizing it's an op, if that makes sense. And, you know, basically our accusation is AOC is still woke one, whatever that's supposed to mean. She's woke two. It doesn't matter. She still associates with the same people, the same ideas. But if the DSA comes out in a kayfabe statement and pretends that, hey, she is dismissing woke one, which is not actually true, right? But if the crazy woke one people are saying she's not part of woke one, we disavow her, then she has at least the opportunity to go out and say, see guys, I told you I wasn't part of woke one. It's all bogus. Don't buy it for a second, okay? These people are fake. They're all liars. They're all accountable basically on the same exact plane. They're all part of the same movement here, okay? I don't buy this for one single second, but, you know, just pretty interesting that it happened, right? You know, whoa, she's betrayed Palestine. Can you believe this? Has she though? I mean, really? Not so sure about that. But anyways, guys, that said, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.